20-16, the final score tonight as the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are 7-4, and the Titans have lost under Mike Vrabel with more than 7 days of rest for the first time in his career as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Alongside Dr. Kevin Dyson, I'm Will Boling, taking your phone calls until 6:30 tonight at 615-737-1045 as we welcome you into another edition of Titans Talkback. And Dr. Dyson, that was a disappointing way to fall to 7-4.
Absolutely. I mean, there wasn't any one thing that you could point your finger out and say, okay, this is why we lost. I mean, there was an untimely penalty. We'll start from the end of the game and to work our way forward. You can't score in the red zone, which has been a strength of this team. Go 0 for 3 as far as getting touchdowns in the red zone. Continue to not be able to put up more points on the board like you did against Green Bay, 27. Got to be able to score points in this league, and you always will give a team, especially a team with a quarterback and weapons like the Bengals, opportunity to win a football game. Defense played well, but they will tell you when we need a stop, we got to get a stop. And they needed to get a stop that last drive. Had a couple opportunities, penalties, and things alike. Cost them. There goes the untimely penalty piece of this. But, you know, it's no harm, no foul. As we just watched the tail end of the Jacksonville-Baltimore game, they're still in there. I think they'll still be the 3 seed as it'll play out for the playoffs, which will still be hosting a playoff game. It's got to continue to win the games in front of them. Got to continue to win. As you mentioned before, that hurts in the conference as far as tiebreakers are concerned if it comes down to that. But you know, the number one thing is win means you can and win your division, get in the playoffs, and that's where you're at. And right now, they're still in a good, favorable spot, but they got a lot of things that they probably need to iron out. They did some better things in the passing game, as we've seen. Treylon Burks made a big play downfield, another 50-50 ball where he came down with a big catch. He's going to continue to develop and help this offense. And I think offensively, they got to look at what they're doing schematically in the run game. I think you're going to start seeing more of this, and I've been saying it for several weeks. You're going to start seeing more of the 50 and 60 fronts. Cincinnati on typical run downs went in the game with 5 defensive linemen and either 1 or 2 linebackers, depending on what they wanted to do with their secondary. And that is what you're going to continue to see. And, you know, a lot of times that equates mano-a-mano, so you got to win, and that means one guy left or 2 for Derrick Henry to beat, and that's where you bring another guy block or whatever have you. But they were getting pressure and getting pushed before he could even get started. Very little momentum for him other than the passing game, which I thought was a clever play call considering they were, again, in that 5 defensive line front, had no speed on the field, put him out there on the edges and let him go. And what a hustle play by Treylon Burks. That's just a great hustle play on his part, just staying with it, not just making an assumption that he was getting at the end zone, not watching, just being present and getting the touchdown. But, you know, to me, it wasn't any one thing you can say that's why they lost this game. It was a combination of a bunch of little things, and those little things multiplied to big loss today for the Tennessee Titans.
615-737-1045 is our number this afternoon on Titans Talkback, presented by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. And we begin with Eric in Nashville first up. What's going on, Eric?
Hey, guys. I just wanted to thank you for using me in your promotion for Titans Talkback. I really appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, guys, just my thoughts and observation on the game. I'm leaving the game right now, guys. As far as defensively, I thought we only had 1 sack, and Joe Burrow killed us with his legs on the ground. We couldn't contain him and keep him in the pocket, and he was able to scramble and make some spectacular throws. And it's frustrating when he does that, especially with no Jamar Chase and no Joe Mixon. And I thought offensively, we just blew so many golden opportunities. We had 3 chances to get touchdowns. We had to settle for 2 field goals and a missed field goal. So, you know, that was frustrating too, you know, because we missed a field goal when we was trying to kick it, and just the two field goals that we had to settle for. We should have got touchdowns. I mean, against teams like that, you're right, you got to score touchdowns, guys. And, you know, it's just like, you know, what can you do? I mean, it is just so frustrating, guys. And also that roughing the passer call I thought was a terrible call because it looked like the 2 guys just provided helmets for the Titans. And it's just, I just don't know what to do, guys. But I'll get off and let you get some other callers. Y'all take care and have a great day.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. Again, the red zone to me was another crucial part of this. And it was surprising because they've been so solid when they've gotten down there this year. And to go 0 for 3 for the first time all year, that was kind of surprising. Again, and then he mentioned the penalty, the roughing the passer one. Again, another one that extended the drive more yards. And
Right.
Burrow, it seemed like he made the right choice a lot of times, escaping out of the pocket and extending drives. But that one in particular, both players tried to protect the quarterback. They did what they were supposed to do. And I understand referee from his peripheral and his vantage point. He looked at that and he saw Burrows going back as two guys trying to avoid the contact and hit him. And that's where the frustration comes in. We have all this technology and we do all these replays for everything else. That's when you need to get that right because that's a critical moment in the game as well. And I think you need to be able to view that. If we're going to review almost everything, and again, I know pace of play is another part of this equation as you talk about replaying, but that is another critical moment in the game that ultimately is a difference in this game.
Yeah, it certainly was. And the two guys that were there to make the tackle, and Amani Hooker, who was flagged for it, made more contact with his own player, with his own teammate, than he did Joe Burrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thought that was a disappointing moment. But ultimately, the penalty to finish this game, Kevin Dyson, the personal foul penalty on Kevin Strong, it was whistled against Kevin Strong. It could have also been called on Tier Tart, who was also hitting the long snapper for Cincinnati on that last play. Take me through what you saw on that play, and if you thought in that moment that rose to the level of a personal foul penalty.
I didn't. I mean, again, I wasn't sitting right there at the official's vantage point, but I didn't see the contact that would warrant the penalty, the personal foul penalty. Now, I know the whole thing of making contact with the center, you can't do that, but from what I understand from the conversation that Vrabel was – the explanation that was given to him, it was contact made to the head or neck area of a player. I don't know. I missed that. I didn't see that part. Now, the contact and stuff with the center, those are those scheduled calls that judgment calls, I should say, that officials make, and the protection of a player who is in a vulnerable position like that, just like a receiver when he goes up for a pass and he's exposed. I get that, trying to protect players. I get that from standing, but from the explanation that Vrabel gave in his post conference that he was given on the field, I did not see that. But again, I like to see the replay and maybe watch it from another vantage point. But I didn't see the extreme contact to the head or neck area. That's me.
Carl Cheffers, the referee today at Nissan Stadium, Mike Vrabel telling Mike Keith post-game on the Titans radio locker room report that he was given the explanation that the long snapper was hit in the head or neck area that rose to the level of a personal foul penalty. I don't see that either. But the aspect of this that I think is noteworthy is that the Titans so often pride themselves on being a team that knows the rules as well, if not better than anyone else. And putting a referee in the position to make that call and touching the long snapper in any way.
He made contact.
When all you've got to do is hold right there, watch McPherson kick it through because you know he's going to make it, and play the next play.
It's a 7-point game at that point. You're still just under 2 minutes with the ball in possession, and you can see what happens from that standpoint on.
You should, absolutely could.
But by the letter of the law, the rule, he made contact with center. Right. But again, head and neck area, the extreme, I didn't see that part of it.
Right. 615-737-1045, the number today on Titans Talkback. We go to JJ up next on the phone lines. What's going on, JJ?
Hey, good. Thank you for taking my call. Do either one of you know if Tannehill has the authority to audible out of a play? And the reason why I'm asking is at times like the Bengals know the Titans' tendencies. And they gave looks that, they were coming, and we still went ahead and ran the play anyway. And I just wondered, if the Bengals have a look, could Tannehill audible out to another play? And I'll listen off air. Thank you.
Thanks, JJ.
Yes. The short answer to that is yes. There's some flexibility that any quarterback has in an offense based on film study, based on tendencies, based on what the play sheets or particular play may be. Like if you have a certain look, he may audible to the opposite side. He may audible from a run to pass. Sometimes there's built-in checks where a run pass option based on a certain look that you get. Centers actually make a lot of these determinations. A lot of people don't realize it. The center communicates that to the quarterback to gets themselves out of a bad play into a more favorable one. And that's that communication that happens a lot of times between center and quarterback. You've seen that commercial with Peyton Manning and Jeff Saturday. That's part of that, right? He's telling you, no, run the play, we got it, and Peyton audible and things of that nature. So a lot of that stuff still happens between quarterback and center. But to answer his question, yes, absolutely, he has some flexibility within the scheme of the offense. Now, if, for instance, they have a run play to the right and they feel like they have numbers, you got – see center, guard, tackle, tight end, as they did today, and you're looking at an outside linebacker, strong safety, nose, and they had a nose tackle and a defensive tackle over there. You feel like you still have the numbers, except for one guy, and that's the one that Derrick Henry is responsible for. The issue being that those guys who were hat for hat did not make sustained blocks. The guys were able to get off blocks, make plays before Derrick Henry can get going. So that was, sometimes mano a mano, it comes down to it. Like football always comes down to man on man, who wins the battles more often than the other. And it was certain times when their defensive front won those battles, it's hard for them to get going.
615-737-1045, the number today on Titans Talkback, presented by Lee Company. We go next to Phil in Portland. Good afternoon, Phil.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Hey, I just want to let you guys know I love the show. I listen every week, and I'm proud of what you do.
Thank you, Phil.
I just wanted to say real quick, and I know I'm going to be negative Nancy on there. I'm going to be the oddball. I don't want to hear weeks of crying and whining from these so-called Titans fans calling in. Listen, go get you some French fries and a Wham burger and move on, because I'm going to tell you, the Titans players, they're already thinking about Philadelphia. If they spend this whole week crying over this loss, they're going to really get showed something when Philly takes a hold of them, because they're not nothing to joke with. Mm-hmm. So we need to move on and be proud of what the Titans are doing. That was a good game. It just doesn't always fall in our favor. But I'm proud of where they are right now, and I'm a true Titans fan. I'm not going to do all that whining. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Phil.
I appreciate that. But to his point, there's no rest for the weary. You got to tighten it back up and get ready for the next one. And the next one is bigger than the last one. Every time, especially at this point in the season, when you're positioning for playoff spots. You're right. You got to continue to stack wins when you can. Every game is the next big game. It's the next bigger game. Now, it's an NFC opponent, but it's still a big game. It's a barometer where you line up as what is considered one of the elite teams this year in the National Football League is the Philadelphia Eagles. So how do you line up? Well, we've seen their defense has been pretty consistent. Offensively, we have yet to really see them have a consistent back-to-back game. Now, we saw glimpses of passing game the past 2 weeks show some signs of life. We saw some big plays again today in the passing game, things of that nature. But a consistent offensive attack where they've been able to continue to move the chain, score points. I don't know how many times they've scored over 24 points this year. Maybe once? Just once.
Yeah.
They're averaging just under 20. And that, to me, is the difference in probably them really being, 8-9 wins this year as opposed to 7?
Yeah.
When it comes down to it.
Certainly.
And even today was another close football game that really comes down to that final penalty to even know if you're going to have a chance to win this game going the length of the field or not. And again, we're talking about a team that's a few possessions away from being 10-2 ish right now, or 7-4, 10-1, really?
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
615-737-1045, the number today if you want to jump in on Titans Talkback. Lots to discuss in this loss for Tennessee, 20-16 to the Cincinnati Bengals. Ryan Tannehill's good performance, Derrick Henry's lack of productivity in the run game, and the red zone offense. The big issue today for the Titans, they go 0 for 3 in the red zone, 3 trips there, no touchdowns, and ultimately that is the difference between Cincy and Tennessee. this afternoon in Nissan Stadium. When we come back, Johnny and Adam will lead us off on the phone lines. You can join us at 615-737-1045 on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company. It's Bengals 20, Titans 16. Titans Talkback is presented by League Company. League Company, all you need. Visit them online at leaguecompany.com. The phone number is 615-737-1045 as the Titans fall 20-16 to the Cincinnati Bengals today, dropping to 7-4. Meanwhile, Cincinnati, they have won 5 of 6. They also sit at 7-4, a big AFC tiebreaker for them and a big day for them considering the Ravens fell to the Jacksonville Jaguars late 28-27 this afternoon. Alongside Kevin Dyson, I'm Will Boling back with you, taking your phone calls at 615-737-1045. Adam in Portland leads us off. Good afternoon, Adam.
Man, I'm kind of on the fence of how to feel about this game. I don't think the Titans necessarily played a bad football game. You held them to 20 points again. I think the kicker situation is kind of goofy for us. I hate that Justin Tucker gets trotted out on the field to try 70-yard field goals, but our guys can't hit from 38. It's weird to me. I don't trust Bullock either. We can't figure that position out for some reason. But there's a couple things, man. Number one, if you are curious about how important Nico Autry is to your football team, he's probably come back to this football game because, we get 9 sacks in the playoff game. We get 1 sack today. Really, he had clean pockets the whole day. He didn't have to really step up. He didn't have to move around much, and when he did move around, he was wide open. So I don't know, man. I'm low on John Robinson these days. I feel like depth-wise, we're not very deep. We have to play such a clean and mistake-free game, and almost all these games are just so freaking close that I don't know. I'm down on that guy right now, man. I feel like Vrabel's doing every bit of what he can with the team he's got. We just weren't the better football team today.
Thanks, Adam. I do think the 2 losses for the Titans today that were big, Nico Autry is a huge one.
Yeah.
I think Ben Jones was the other one.
Yeah.
I think you really saw the value of those 2 guys today in this loss.
Ben Jones, especially how this running game has been going and the fronts that they're getting and the consistency up there up front, I think he's a major factor. The offensive line has just been struggling. They've been putting young guys in, guys out of position, guys moving around. It's been a trial and error in a lot of respects, and they've had their moments, but definitely the consistency is not there. And to that caller's point, man, that's kind of how I felt about the game too. It was just it's on the fence about the loss. It wasn't like an ugly loss. It was like they played terrible. It was just untimely penalties. Didn't get done in red zone. Couldn't really get the running game going. It was just kind of like, okay, you have a big play, and you still got the touchdown, so you felt like you're there. It was like just right there straddling the fence, just ready to take that leap to the next level in this game. It just never happened. So it was just like, okay, it wasn't a bad game. It just was like, it sucks to lose that one. You feel like you're just as good, if not better, than that team. It's just like, you hold a team that's pretty dynamic on offense to only 20 points in this league. You give yourself a chance to win. And again, I said it earlier, the defense will tell you, their ownership in this is, hey, when we need to get a stop, we have to do what we need to do to get the stop. And we didn't do our part, even though the offense didn't put up 30 points to help them. But still, that's why you had a give and take and why you have a partnership in offensive defense and special teams football is we needed a stop and they didn't get it. And, of course, untimely penalty to help seal the deal. So, I felt the same way. It's like,
yeah. It's not like you literally learned a lot of new negative information about this team today, too.
Right.
This team played to its identity and just got beat.
It got beat.
It's kind of an odd feeling because you're not going back to maybe if they'd given up 400 passing yards or if they'd given up 150 on the ground like they did against New York. Then it's probably a more worrying conversation for us at this point because they've lost in a different way. When the Titans lose, this is how they lose.
Yeah. They're
not good in the red zone. They don't convert on third downs nearly enough, and they don't affect the quarterback at the level that you are used to. And I think Adam is right in the call saying that Cincinnati certainly made adjustments from the playoff game when Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times last year. He's been sacked, tied for the second most in the NFL this season. Yet today they got the ball out of his hands quickly. They allowed T. Higgins to win matchups on the outside, who was targeted 9 times at 7 for 114 and the touchdown there at the end. And he was just better. He was better than Roger McCreary, who Kevin, for one of the first times this year, looked like a rookie at the cornerback position.
Well, that's a hard ball to defend.
It is.
When you throw it up in the air and it comes short and you're running full speed with the guy and he sees the flight of the ball and he gets to stop, that's probably one of the hardest balls for a corner to defend. That's why you see a lot of back shoulder throws and things of that nature, because the advantage obviously goes to the offensive player.
Sure.
So, again, I still feel like solid game. They had a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of battles. I saw a lot of third down deflections from the corners. Guys were making plays. Again, at some point, somebody made a play, one more than we made, and if ultimately that was the difference in the game. It was just a couple plays here and there. It wasn't like it was just like a completely Cincinnati came here and dominated them. It wasn't like a Bills game or, it was just kind of like, okay, we felt like you're still in it, about to win this game.
Yeah.
Even when that field goal went up, you look at the time and you see how much time is left. Okay, they kick this field goal. They go down, tie this game, we go overtime, win it. And you just kind of had that mentality the whole time through until you see the flag. You're like, oh, now what? And then there it was, and that sealed the deal.
615-737-1045, the number this afternoon on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company. League Company, all you need. Visit them online at leaguecompany.com. Johnny in Gallatin is up next on the phone lines. Good afternoon, Johnny.
Hey, I was going to get on here and talk about Todd Downing and how much the offense sucks like the rest of the fans, but I just wanted to get on here and talk about some positives. Treylon Burks, it's looking like he's going to be a star. But he made a lot of great plays, and that's pretty much all I wanted to touch on. I wanted to say hi to Mr. Dyson. I've been a fan of you since I was growing up, so it's an honor to talk to you, and that's pretty much all I got to say.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you for the call, Johnny.
I will say this about Treylon. He is starting to get his feet wet, starting to get a little confidence and swag about him. And that confidence level is going up. And you saw today in that big catch, in the middle of the field, he goes up and get it, and the guy held his arm. He was strong and got through and got both hands on it, came down with it. And if he can continue to make plays like that, had one against Green Bay as well, continue to make plays like that and build that confidence in not only himself, the teammates around him, that's when you got something to complement Derrick Henry on a consistent basis, and he continued to do that. I think the sky's the limit for him. He just got to continue, got to stay healthy and continue to work and get better. And they're looking as though they're trying to find ways to get him involved in the game, little screens, things of that nature. I don't know, seriously, he's not necessarily the sit on the island, one-on-one, wide receiver type guy, but you can scheme some things for him to be highly successful, and that is what he's doing. He's getting more and more targets, and he's coming down, like I said, with that jump ball today. He's going to be all right. I still think, again, the blueprint that Cincinnati gave the world last year was put hat for hat on the offensive line, 5 and 6 people up front, make the Titans decide what you're going to give up. You're going to give up the backside read and have him chase Derrick Henry, or you're going to let the linebacker free because you're hat for hat. You're not going to be able to combo block to the second level sometimes. So people are going with these 50s, and even I saw Green Bay last week going with a 60 front with a 6'2 look and making the Titans taking Derrick Henry out.
Yep.
And if we take him out, now what? Now that's where we go back to what we were just talking about with Treylon Burks and the evolution of the passing game, having to continue to progress and get better, because that's only going to help. But what Todd Downing did today that I thought was probably his most clever play call was that screen to Derrick Henry that eventually ended up being a touchdown, because they had 5 down linemen, 1 linebacker, or 2 linebackers, I believe, and they got to the second level, got on those linebackers, and it was just a foot race, and we know he's as fast as anybody in the National Football League when he's in the open field. And so that was one of the things. And then I noticed when it was coming into your typical – say running downs after that fact, they didn't necessarily go to them 5 down linemen anymore. They took that element out, but they came back to it at times, right, but not on your typical 1st and 10, 2nd and longs. They mixed it up a little bit, and so that eventually them guys were still getting to the backfield and making plays. But hats off to Treylon, man. Continue to progress, continue to get better, and continue to build on that confidence, because they're gonna need you in the stretch run.
615-737-1045, the number today on Titans Talkback. We've got a Larry who's downtown calling in with us this afternoon. What's going on, Larry? Hey, Larry, you got us? Hey, now we got you. Go ahead.
Hey, my bad. Can you guys hear me?
We got you.
Hello?
Go ahead.
My bad. I'm in the car. My bad, you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
sir.
got you.
Hey, I just I actually live in Murfreesboro now. My wife and I moved down 2 years ago, but I have grown up a Bengals fan. Went to the game today, and I just want to, there's some things that are bigger than football, and I just want to take my hats off to Titans fans. How just kind and accommodating. I'm sure y'all have heard this before, but just Titans fans are amazing. I just want to thank everybody for the accommodation, for how kind everybody was. I listen to y'all regularly, and I heard about how Titans fans are circling this game and looking forward to this game. And I've been to enough NFL games to know that when that's going on, sometimes there's some animosity as well. But I experienced none of that. So hats off. Thank you, Titans fans. Love you guys. Really happy to live down here. And that's all I got to say. Thanks very much for taking my call.
Appreciate it, Larry.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Can I be honest with you for a minute?
Yeah, please do.
I was a little surprised the crowd wasn't louder today.
You know what? It's funny
I was
you
a
say
little
that.
surprised.
Me too.
I thought it was a little disappointing considering the performance you had on Thursday Night Football in Lambeau and the revenge game aspect of this game, which was downplayed by the players and the coaches. And, of course, it's going to be, right? Because you don't want to give the other team
It's a
any
regular
extra
season
motivation.
game. Yep,
That's right.
Absolutely.
But I thought the crowd would be a little louder and a little saltier.
Yeah.
And they weren't.
No, not like we had the last home game.
No.
I felt that same kind of lack of energy, if you will. I don't know if it's just people or Titan fans are still on vacation for the holiday break. It's their last day before we go back to work, so to speak. I don't know. But it just didn't. My expectations were maybe higher than what it was. It didn't have that same kind of build of energy that I was expecting either. But again, it's a lot of Bengals fans traveled well, came to the city. They were loud in there too.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
absolutely were. That's an easy trip.
Yeah, and that's kind of expected when you have these drivable trips too.
Right.
But but man, I noticed that too a little bit, especially second half. I'm like, what's going on? Where's this energy?
Right.
So
right. 615-737-1045, the number this afternoon if you want to jump in. Teresa in Mount Juliet is up next. What's going on, Teresa?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's an easy trip.
Tell them coming up next.
Okay. That's kind of expected.
All right, we're going to go to a break there. I think
Back,
Teresa's just
Teresa.
listening to listening to the radio. We'll get to Teresa next. Teresa, I know you're listening to us. Turn down the radio, and we'll just talk to you on the phone in a minute. So we will try that again maybe in a second. Larry in Nashville is up next. What's going on, Larry? Hey, Larry, you got us? Larry does not have us. All right, we're 0 for our last two. Let's see if Danny in the borough can redeem the callers today. Hello, Danny.
Hey, I redeem everybody. I'm here.
There you go. Thank you, Danny.
Hey, listen, you all know me. If you listen to this radio station at any regularity at all, you know I'm a lifelong Bengals fan who's been here in Middle Tennessee about 12 years now. Now, I've been talking trash since the divisional game because of how gnarly and nasty the Titans fans got. But I got to kind of refrain back to what the previous caller before those two oopsie daisies hit the phone lines. Man, we were right in the middle in the stadium. Me and my dad, my brother, they both come down from Cincinnati for the game today, and we were at Nashville Underground watching Ohio State and Michigan yesterday. Just a great weekend in Nashville, full of great people. I will say this for the Titans. This is the third year in a row the Bengals have beat you, and the third year in a row they shut Derrick Henry down in the run game. Had he not had a good screen pass that he caught and then secondarily fumbled the ball into the end zone for a lucky touchdown, he wouldn't have had much of a game at all. You know what I mean? So I will say this. Titans fans, you're classy as heck. Titans offensive play callers, you're trash. Derrick Henry, do better against DJ Reader. Titans fans, better luck the fourth time around. Who day all day. You know it.
Well, he did have 112 yards in the one in 2020. The lucky fumble, that's an odd way to look at that. But look, I mean, the Titans offensive line didn't do enough today to stop DJ Reader, who Cincinnati was bad against the run while he was hurt. He comes back last week, and that's the same looking run defense that shut down Derrick Henry last year in the playoffs. Derrick, in his last two games against Cincinnati, 37 carries for 100 yards. Between the playoffs last year and this game today.
That's why I say I feel like the Bengals have put up a blueprint that the league is taking notice of, and you're seeing more of this 5 and 6 man front, like hat for hat, so to speak, on linemen and tight ends, and saying, can your guy beat my guy one-on-one in blocking, and I'm going to be able to beat him more often than not and get in the backfield or get to Derrick Henry. You're no longer seeing some of these even in odd fronts, these 43s or 35s or whatever you want to call it, 33s or 32s or whatever you want to call them. You're not seeing a whole lot of that right now, especially on run downs. And Titans going to have to come up with something to counter that. And I thought, again, I'm going back to, I thought that screen was a good counter move. That was a good counter punch. And it did make Cincinnati adjust.
Right.
Because the next time out on a typical run down set and a run down down in distance, they were in a typical even front, four down linemen, 3 linebackers, and 4 secondary. So it was a typical look, which they hadn't done previously. So, Titans going to have to evaluate themselves and look at that and see, because I saw that a lot in Green Bay, saw it the week before that, and I'm assuming Philadelphia is going to look at that and say, look, if we're going to beat the Titans, Derrick Henry is the key. And we've all said that. We said that from the jump. Everybody knows he's the key. But as we talked about last year after the playoff game, you do something because that's your identity so much to the detriment of your team. Like we're just going to run because that's what we do. We're Derrick Henry to the point of, is it insanity? Like something else has to come off of that. Something has to counter off of that. And that's okay. And I think Derrick Henry would be okay with doing something different to win a football game, because eventually if you're doing something different and you're winning, it's coming back around to you.
Right.
And I think he would be fine with that. And I think that's where the evaluation comes from a coaching standpoint and play calling standpoint of, okay, this is the looks we're starting to get right now. What's our counter to it? And again, I thought he had a great counter with that screen today, and that was a big play.
615-737-1045. Let's try Teresa in Mount Juliet again here, see if we can connect with her. What's going on, Teresa? You got us?
Yes, I do. I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I would like to say I love the show. I listen to it every week. It's an honor to talk to Kevin Dyson. Thank you, Kevin, for being such a great Titan. I love the Titans. I just wish we had more play calling. That's what I wish. I just wish we had more play call. We got to do something else. They pack in the box. The linemen have it. We got to find something else. And I'll listen to you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Teresa. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the call. Appreciate you. Yeah, I kind of feel the same. I just think, if anything else, I'll go to Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan rules were he's going to get his, we'll stop everybody else.
Right.
Right? Then there's the other side of that thing is we stop him and see if the other guys can beat us. And I think that's where the Titans are right now. And they're in that phase of their offense where they don't believe they have enough of everything else to get beaten. And so they say, we stop Derrick Henry. I don't think they have enough to beat us. And it's worked. They beat Green Bay and things of that nature. But I think now it's, okay, if the emphasis is on stopping Derrick Henry, which is going to be every week, and now people are selling out to do it. Like they're going one-on-one on the edges. They put 5 linemen in the game on passing downs and things of that nature. What are we going to do to counteract that? And so, you saw a lot of shifting of personnel with the Bengals. They were very tentative of watching the Titans shift and substitute, and they're very, very, very deliberate in how they played Derrick Henry. Even to anytime they went 3 tight ends, they're very, very deliberate in their attack with Derrick Henry in the game. So, what is going to be the next move for the Titans? And I think Traylon Burke's going to be the guy that is going to get a lot more attention. And we saw a little bit of glimpses of that these last 2 weeks with just the screen game or quick hitters, if you will, just throw it to him real quick and run. That might be the evolution, is because 4 or 5 yards edge is an extension of your run game.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually that becomes a big play. And that's where I think some of this is going. In screen game, they did a lot of screens today, a lot more than we've seen in the previous weeks.
I think the conservative play calling on third downs is just a problem for this team right now, that you are leaving so little margin for error for your defense. When on a couple of 3rd and 12s, 3rd and 13s, you throw screen passes to Chikakonkwo and Traylon Burks
Yep.
that go for 5, 6, 7 yards just to make the punt a little bit easier. And then on the other side, Cincinnati is faced with a crucial 3rd and 13, and they throw to Trenton Irwin on the outside, who makes an unbelievable grab on the sidelines that the Titans challenge that is upheld. You lose a timeout in that exchange. And then Samaje Perine runs it in for a touchdown just a couple of plays later.
Yeah.
That was the difference to me in this game was Joe Burrow had a clean enough pocket to where Cincinnati could throw vertically on 3rd downs and really in the second half whenever they wanted to. I think the Titans right now are so handcuffed by their pass protection issues and their deficiencies on the offensive line that it takes away so much of the playbook. It takes away so many options that you have. Now, that's not a defense of Todd Downing. It's not a defense of the scheme the Titans have, because I think the play calling could have been a lot better today. I think it needed to be a little bit more aggressive considering the quarterback on the other side of the field and Joe Burrow and the throws that he was making late on in this game. Ultimately, you just can't protect Ryan Tannehill long enough to throw the ball that deep. And I think now, Kevin Dyson, you're looking at a situation where Traylon Burks is winning so many one-on-one matchups. Just throw it up to him and say, go get it. I mean, at this point, I would rather the Titans just chuck it deep to Traylon Burks on a go route when it's 3rd and 15 versus these screen passes that don't really do anything for them. And I know that's not the field position battle. I know it's not the kind of game that Mike Vrabel often wants to play, but ultimately when that quarterback is on the other side and you're trailing in the second half, there needed to be a step up in let me take the initiative and put the pressure on the defense, and I never saw that today from the Titans.
Well, let me say this. They were 7 of 16 on 3rd down. Yep. Which 44% is if you're in that range, you're going to be in the upper echelon in the National Football League for conversion. So they did all right there, and they gave up 1 sack, technically, but it was a lot of pressure.
Yep.
To me, the battle is the yin and yang between play callers on either side, the chess match that goes on between each other is, I believe my 5 down linemen are better than your 5.
Sure.
3 of them, okay, but not all 5. You may have 2, but not all 5. And which of those in those 5 are better than your 5 has been the difference in my opinion. You know, you're talking about pressure and getting depth where Derrick Henry, and I'm just going to talk about the running game for a second, where he can't get his momentum going. He's already heading contact as soon as he reaches the line of scrimmage, and sometimes even a yard or 2 back. And as big as he is, that there's only so much of that you can take. Them guys are still 300 pounds. I don't care if he is 250. He's still got to run into a 300-pound guy. So to me, that is the difference in what people seem to be doing here recent. I've been saying it for several weeks that was coming, because when he went off for 200 yards against Houston, I was like, man, that's the last time you're going to see somebody run just a basic 3-4 defense or basic 4-3 until they can throw the football effectively.
Or until they just see Houston again.
Until they see Houston again. And so let me go to the passing game. Now, you can't just throw up 50-50 balls all the time, because they call 50-50 balls for a reason, because that's the low percentage play. But to your point, I was talking to Slay about this in the suite today, and I said, you know, there's different types of receivers. There's 2 types. There's the guy you scheme catches up the Cups of the world. And I can think of a few guys. Thielman, there's a couple guys you scheme them up catches.
Sure.
You do rubs and picks and things of that nature. You scheme them up. Traylon is more on that side right now in his career than he is the Randy Moss, the A.J. Browns, the guys who on the island that you know 1-on-1, they're going to win that battle every time. Man-to-man, face head. He seems more of the schematic guy than the one-on-one guy. That's not to say he's not going to be effective, not going to be good, and I think he can be great in either capacity. But right now, while he's still learning his body and language and movement and weight control and all that kind of stuff, he seems to be more of the schematic guy that you do different things. You motion him. You send him up. Travis Kelce, who is we're watching right now. He's a little bit of both because of positioning, right? But you watch how they scheme him up catches. They send guys vertical, send him right underneath that pat, dump it off to him, let him run and catch. You see them scheme up certain plays for him. And I think, this is my opinion now, I think when you look at what the Titans have done with Traylon in the last couple of weeks, you see the evolution of that. Okay, let's give this young guy a little bit more. Let's give him a little more. So those quick dump offs and things like that, I think that's a build up for him. That's the build up, getting him some targets, getting his feet wet, getting him more acclimated to the pro game. The preseason wasn't it. He's been injured. Now he's starting to get in there, and we've seen that he can make those 50-50 balls you're talking about.
Yep.
And he's done it the last 2 weeks. Now it's how do we get him the ball in the middle of the field in the zone, that 10-yard out route real quick, dump him off, catch it for 10, run for 10, 15 more. How do we get him those touches? And that's where I want to see the evolution of this. It's not just, I want to run my play call. No, let's move him around, motion him, AJ. And I hate to use AJ Brown in comparison, but even as talented AJ Brown was, you saw a lot of movement with him. They did reverses with him. They put him in the slot. They put him outside. He was a singled up receiver. He was in number 2 receiver of a 3-by-1 set. They moved him around to make sure they found ways to put him within the progression, if not the primary target. And I think that's me talking. I think that's where they're trying to get to with Traylon, but he's still a rookie. There's still a learning curve, y'all. There's still some things he hasn't seen, done, or heard of just yet. Even though he has played, we've been in the season 11 games deep. There's still a lot of football that you learn. That's why you see, for the most part, the biggest gains in people's productivity from year 1 to year 2, because there's an understanding of the pro game. But I am looking at it from week to week from a receiver standpoint and watching them say, okay, yeah, this is going to be like a 3-4 yard game, but let's see what he can do with this ball in hand. Okay, that's extension of our run. So that's something you got to think about from the standpoint of a defensive coordinator. Like, okay, they got that in their repertoire. What's the counter from that? Be wise. Do we play zone? We play man. Today, they got a lot of man-to-man. Why? They sold out to stop the run.
Right.
And if that's going to be the case, now, Traylon Burke, you have one-on-one. What can you do with it? And to me, I think the best way to help a young receiver is scheme. And the best way to scheme a guy like that, and you saw even they did with T. Higgins today, there's some rub routes and things like that to get him on the move. He can catch it on the run and get upfield, catch it moving. And that's where I think they need to get to with Traylon. And it looks like they're getting there. That's what they're progressing to anyway.
615-737-1045 is the number. Josh and Franklin will lead us off when we come back on Titans Talkback, presented by Lee Company. Plenty of time to get to all your phone calls until 6:30 today as we take you right up to Sunday Night Football coverage here on The Zone. 615-737-1045 as the Titans fall to the Bengals 20-16. Titans Talkback is presented by League Company on the air until 6:30 on 104.5 The Zone. As the Bengals beat the Titans 20-16, you can join us at 615-737-1045 with Kevin Dyson. I'm Will Boling. We go straight back to the phone lines, and we go to Josh in Franklin up next. What's going on, Josh?
Yeah, I called in to talk about Todd Downing, but as I've been sitting here listening, I just realized it's Mike Vrabel is the problem. Vrabel employs this guy who will not take a chance and not ever throw a ball halfway downfield. They got 9 guys in the box, and he continuously runs Derrick Henry right up the middle, never throws it outside, never does anything. So Vrabel, if he doesn't get his act together and figure out that, hey, you're the guy that's got to take it. You know, you're the guy that's in control, and if you continually let this guy call these terrible plays, it's unbelievable to me. I sit here and watch this. You know, I played high school football, which ain't much, but you sit here and watch these play calls and you go, oh, my God, they're going to run it right up in a 9-guy box. And there he goes, and there's 3 guys circling Derrick Henry when all they have to do is fake that and bootleg Tannehill out the backside, and he could still be running down to downtown Nashville. Touchdown, touchdown. I just don't get it. I don't know what you guys think, but, you know, at some point somebody has to have accountability on these calls. I mean, it's unbelievable. Running Derrick Henry continuously into a 9-man box with all these backup offensive linemen who are giving their everything to try to block these guys. It's a no-win situation. And I don't get why Mike Vrabel doesn't get, you know, everybody wants to talk about Todd Downing, but where is Mike Vrabel in the situation? At some point, he is the guy. He is the guy that never gets a question on why do you allow Todd Downing to run Derrick Henry in a 9-man box on 2nd and 10?
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate the call.
You know, and I do appreciate that, and I think there's some validity in what he's saying. I think there's the sense of this is our identity, this is who we are, this is what we do, and we live and die, and we start and end with 22. And there's something to that, and there's such things as like toughness and being smart and being physical, right, and all that stuff that comes along with the identity of a run-first team, right? However, to the caller's point, how many times do you continue to beat your head against the wall to hope that you're going to break through?
Right.
You know, and I think that is where you saw like the screen and things of that nature where that kind of broke it open. But at some point, I think you got to have some sort of a couple callers back. What's the audible? You know, you got 6 guys here. We got 5 blockers. What's the audible? What's the check? We got 5 down linemen and half our hat. We got some inexperienced linemen or guys are not playing as well as our starters. What's the move? What's the check? You know, and so I think, you know, Vrabel doesn't never get a pass. The head coach, GM, they never get a pass.
Right.
They take all the blame, all the credit goes both ways for them. So if the offense is not efficient, he definitely gets part of this blame. If not all of it, it's just because he's the head coach. But Downing, and again, evaluation, self-evaluation. They preach about being smart, players being smart, coaches being smart, being well prepared. I got to believe they're looking at that film and saying, okay, what can we do?
Right.
What do we got to do? They sit up here with a 50 front. We got 5 down linemen, half our hat. Our guys are not winning battles. What's the move? What are we going to do? We got to be able to get Derrick Henry off because he is a vital and key component of this offense, and we go as he goes. And you saw that big play, the touchdown, even though it was unconventional, you know, like the caller said before, it was unconventional touchdown, but it was going to be a touchdown anyway. The way he ran that ball and the way that screen worked out, he was going to probably get in the end zone had he not fumbled or very next play. So it's just self-evaluation, looking at where we're at, what are we getting, how do we adjust to it? And to the caller's point, yeah, it always goes back to the head coach.
615-737-1045. I still think that this team made the gamble that the way they lost last season throwing the interceptions, they would rather be more conservative and vanilla and play expert defense and win that way versus being really, really good and then throwing 3 interceptions and ultimately throwing it away.
Yeah, so you're saying you're going back to the 99 Ravens with Trent Dilfer.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Trent. They were, you just solid defense. We got this great defense. Just you don't lose the game for us. We got you.
And it's worked.
Yeah.
It has worked. I think ultimately today, and Mike Vrabel mentioned it in his first comment to Mike Keith on the Titans locker room report, couldn't stop the run in the second half today.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it was Joe Burrow with his legs finishing with 9 carries for 32, Samaje Perine doesn't jump out on the stat sheet when you look at 17 carries for 58 for him, but had a big 9-yard run late, had the touchdown run, was just able to get 6-7 yards when the Bengals really needed something. And ultimately, it's a big reason why Cincinnati ended the game with a long drive that didn't allow the Titans to have a second possession in the fourth quarter. I mean, the Bengals got the ball back in the fourth quarter with 6:07 left, and they ran out the clock and ended this thing.
Yeah, and that's why I go back to defense will tell you. All them competitors will tell you, hey, that's just as much as our part. I know the offense only put up 17, but
sure.
Here we are. We got an opportunity to get them the ball back. We got to get a stop. We got to find a way to get a stop, give them a chance.
Absolutely.
And that's what the competitive side of them is. But still, the other side of that, right? You're talking about, well, shoot, we hold a pretty prolific offense to 20 points.
Yeah.
Where's my help?
Should be enough.
It should be enough.
Right.
So it goes hand in hand.
615-737-1045, the number if you want to join in on the conversation. Let your voice be heard on the Titans' loss to the Bengals. We got Josh, who is listening on the interstate with us this afternoon. What's going on, Josh? Hey, Josh, you got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Go ahead.
I want to talk about, first of all, the obvious is play calling. But why is Jeff Swaim still getting targets? And what was wrong with the red zone offense today? I'll hang up to listen. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Josh. I actually thought the Jeff Swaim slant they tried, we talked about audibles earlier. I thought that was a check at the line by Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
Because they were man-to-man across the board on the outside, and they stacked the box. And Ryan Tannehill made a check right before that play. Mm-hmm. Traylon Burks was immediately engaged as a blocker, and they try to throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage. That way you get, legal in that context of Burks blocking before the ball is caught. But, I mean, again, you've got better options to catch the football than a guy that is primarily a blocker in Jeff Swaim.
Yeah, but he's out there.
He is.
He's getting paid to catch balls.
Certainly is.
And when you get opportunity, you got to make the most of it, too.
Yep.
But I understand. And again, I think Okonkwo and other guys, Hooper, they have stepped up and made plays essentially a lot this year, and they have become pass-catching tight ends. But at the same time, you got to be strategic, right? You can't just say, only time we're going to throw is when we got 11 personnel, 3 receivers, 1 back, and we're just going to throw all the time, sideline to sideline, 2 by 2, 3. You can't. You had to be strategic, right? So if you got 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends set, and he's in there and he's in the progression, you got to give him opportunity to make plays. I don't think it was a scheme play for, hey, like you said, it wasn't a scheme play like, we're going to him. It was something within the progression of it, something that Tannehill saw and like, okay, we're going to take advantage of this opportunity right here, and it just didn't work out.
615-737-1045, the number. Max is in Franklin up next. What's going on, Max? Hey, Max, you there? Max is not there. We will try somebody else. Johnny in Nashville will be up next tonight on Titans Talkback. Hello, Johnny.
Hey, how you doing, man? I called earlier. I just wanted to let everybody know, all these Titans fans out here that's hitting the panic button, that this is still a Mike Vrabel-led football team. And the one thing that I know about a Mike Vrabel-led football team is their ability to bounce back. So I fully expect them to go up to Philly and bust their heads. And not a damn person gave us a shot last year after Derrick Henry went down, and we ended up with the number 1 seed. So
yeah,
their ability to come back from anything just astounds me. So I think everybody just needs to hold off and keep that same energy next week when they beat Philadelphia.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate it, Johnny.
Yeah, man. That's a great point. I mean, again, if you remember the first couple of weeks of the season, people were ready to sell their tickets and move on for the next season. And then,
thinking about quarterbacks of the draft. In week 2, literally.
Yeah, week 2. And now you're still there, still probably right now sitting there at third based on what happened with Baltimore. And still looking to host a first round of playoff game. And once you get in the tournament, man, you just got to be great that one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you still got to keep cheering for Baltimore now to win the AFC North.
Yeah. And
then hope that you've got a better AFC record than Baltimore at the end of it now. Because Cincinnati will have that tiebreaker on you by way of the head-to-head win if they win the North. So that bumps you back to possibly being the 4th seed in getting whoever doesn't win the AFC East in the first round, which is either Miami or Buffalo. And I'm not sure which one the Titans would really rather have come to Nashville.
That's a rough call.
You'd much rather be the 3 seed and avoid whoever the best team to not win the AFC East is. Because then you might get the other not best team to win the AFC East, and it might be the Patriots. And you'd much rather play the Patriots in Nashville than you would
Miami or
like
Buffalo.
to play Miami or Buffalo.
Yeah. Ooh. Right. That's a tough first round.
Right.
Bengals, too. That'd be a tough first round.
It would be. I mean, all 4 of those teams are going to be options to play here in the first round. The way it stands right now.
Keep stacking wins.
That's right. 615-737-1045. Let's try Max one more time in Franklin, see if he's ready to chime in with us. What's going on, Max?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, we got you. Go ahead.
So I just think that we really just need to work on their offensive line blocking, getting Derrick Henry through there. He just really needs to get the move, make those plays, start actually doing something.
Yeah. Thank you, Max. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
This was not a game where Derrick Henry looked slow. I'm not sure there's anything more Derrick could have done. I mean, this was an offensive line that was badly missing its veteran center in Ben Jones. And it was really the first time you've been able to point at that and say, this team looks a lot different without him in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would even make the argument that even beforehand, even though you've had some success in it, I think losing your quarterback on the offensive line is always crucial. You know, there's a lot of communication that goes on between snaps and between plays, the communication, the quarterback to center, across the line from either side of the line. Man, that's one of the most vital positions on the football field. If it's probably right after quarterback, right? So, that is crucial. And I think the way teams are playing the Titans, I think it's even more evident that you need him in there. You need him at his playing at his level we've gone accustomed to, and just to help quarterback that offensive line. And if I'm assuming once he gets back, will it change a whole lot? Hopefully, just from a communication standpoint, but from a performance standpiece as well. You want to see his level of play that he was at prior to his injury.
615-737-1045 is the number this afternoon on Titans Talkback, presented by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need, online at leecompany.com. As we take a look at, as well, our Titans Kroger sacks for cash. Tonight, Titans had 1 sack, adding $100, courtesy of DeMarcus Walker. And for the season, Kroger's donation to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee now stands at $3,800, courtesy of the 1 sack today. Every time the Titans sack the opposing team's quarterback, Kroger donates $100 to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. Through its Zero Hunger, Zero Waste plan, Kroger is committed to ending hunger in our communities. I thought the offensive game plan from Zach Taylor was a good one today in pushing that really good Titans defensive front back, and they badly missed at Nico Autry. Titans did get Bud Dupree back in the lineup. Not the best effort from him today, ultimately, when you take a look at the stat sheet. Just 2 tackles and 1 quarterback hit. But 2 quarterback hits for DeMarcus Walker, 1 for Bud Dupree, and 1 for Mario Edwards. You got to tip your cap to a Cincinnati offensive line that is not very good this season, but was good enough for the Cincinnati Bengals to come to Nashville and win today.
Yeah, and that's all you need to be is good at one time, right? But they did establish they had some pressure. They put him on there, just didn't get a lot of hits. He had good pocket presence, man. There was a couple scrambles out of there today where he extended those drives. You're like, dang, man, you just didn't expect it, and he made them go. But again, they dropped everybody in the coverage. Rushed with Ford, thought they can beat them the way with that, and he took advantage of that opportunity. But again, I this year with the many guys has been in and out of that defensive front, the production is something we're getting spoiled, if you will. Because they have been so productive, had so many multiple sack games and things of that nature, and this was an opportunity you felt. Again, that's why, man, a lot of people say don't look at the numbers because matchups, the NFL is about matchups and timing sometimes, and sometimes you seem to match up or you get the right team at the right time, and you make assumptions like you'll see the number 31 rush defense, and they come out and you get a goose egg against it, but you play the number 1 rush defense and you rush for 250 yards. It's just matchups sometimes make up the game, and it's about being healthy, matchups, things of that nature, and how you are feeling on that given Sunday. And today, man, the Bengals, tip your hat, man. Sometimes they beat you. Sometimes that guy from here beats you, and he gets the best of you. Now you go to film, you get better, come back the next one.
The Titans trust their home stadium to League Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play, visit LeagueCompany.com. League Company, all you need. 615-737-1045 is how you join us. Hour and a half left in our show today on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company. More of your reaction next as the Bengals beat the Titans 20-16. Titans Talkback live on 104.5 The Zone with Will Boling and Kevin Dyson. The Bengals beat the Titans 20-16 tonight. We take your phone calls at 615-737-1045. Derrick Henry held to 17 carries for 38 yards, 291 yards through the air for Ryan Tannehill. A great day for Treylon Burks, a big catch, a big fumble recovery for the Titans' first-round pick. But ultimately, it is another win for Cincinnati over the Titans. And Kevin Dyson, Mike Vrabel is now 0-3 against Zach Taylor.
Oh, wow.
2020, 2021, and 2022 wins in 3 straight for Cincinnati over these Titans.
Wow.
So
I bet you he knows. Knowing Vrabel, he's paying attention to that.
Oh, yes. No doubt about it. 615-737-1045 is the number this afternoon. We go next to Calvin, who is making his way from the game today. What's going on, Calvin?
What's up, fellas? Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Man, I just got one complaint, man, and it's been all year. And, I told myself, last year after every game I was calling in, way emotional about it. This year I'm just going to play it out. But, man, it seems like 95% of the time, especially if it's 3rd and 3 or longer, Derrick Henry is strolling to the sideline. And it seems like he's completely okay with it. As a Hall of Fame competitor that I know he is, I just would like some fight. Be like, no, man, I'm staying on the field whether I'm a decoy or not. Whether y'all think my blocking is bad or not, I'm still a Hall of Fame running back, and I should be on the field in the most important play. That's my opinion. I'm going to hang up and listen. Y'all have a blessed night.
Thank you, Calvin. Look, I generally agree with the idea that Derrick Henry getting 3rd downs off is not that big of a deal. But I will say, Derrick Henry today, with his 21st catch of the season, set a career high in receptions in an entire season. Today, in Week 12, set a career high for catches. And he also set a career high for receiving yards with 278 receiving yards. Derrick Henry is averaging 13.2 yards per catch, more than he's had in any season in his career. As he becomes a more comfortable receiver, Kevin Dyson, I think it's time to leave him back on the field for more 3rd downs.
Well, there's more to it too, though, right?
Right.
And Derrick has never been known to be a pass protector. That's not as big as he is. That's not his skill set, right? He's never really been in the game from that. Then there are some different things. There is a difference in changeup too. That's why you have some of these other guys that come in for a changeup. Then the other part of that too is wear and tear, right? I get the idea of leaving him in there and get him. He does have the hands, and that's why I think it's crucial on 1st and 2nd down, the previous downs, to utilize those skills as well to open up some things for him where he can stay in the game on 3rd down, which would be, in my opinion, 3rd and short, 3rd and medium, as opposed to 3rd and longs when I think you pull him out. But I think he is developing another skill set that's only making him be that much more harder to defend. And you saw that today in the way they used him in that big screen play that makes it and they adjusted from that. He made that big old play. They had 5 down linemen in. He makes a big old play. The very next 1st down, they only had 4 down linemen in there, and they made sure they had people on there with speed with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, he is definitely elevating his game in the pass catching capacity. And to me, I thought that was only a natural evolution because they needed to. Because what we're seeing now, especially, everybody's selling out to make sure he does not beat them running the football. He's such a game breaker. He is a home run hitter, and he is a grinder. That's hard to say. That he's both. He is a Chris Johnson and an Eddie George. He's a grinder and a home run hitter.
Right.
That's hard. So I got to take him away. Well, if he's elevating his game as a pass catcher, and there's difference too now. There's one thing to just dump it off into the flat, dump it off in a little hook route right in front of right past the center. There's also routes that come in there. He's not a route runner, and I think and he's not a pass protector too. But I think that is some of those things you got to consider on top of the wear and tear of your body. That's an additional hit. That's an additional contact that he's getting. So if he's playing 80 plays, he's getting 80 plays. He's pass protecting. He's bumping heads with a linebacker, and he's not even carrying the football. He's getting a catch. He's getting another hit on him. So there's those elements that you got to think of too, because you're talking about the longevity of a season, 17-game season. That's why you got backups, the guys change of pace, guys that can come in and make plays as well to give him a rest so he doesn't have to continue to take unnecessary punishment and hits and things of that nature.
615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in. We go next to Terrence, who is in Nashville. What's going on, Terrence?
Hello?
Hey, Terrence, you're on.
Oh, hey, listen, I want to, initially I was calling about the comparison between Derrick Henry and Earl Campbell, and I'm still going to stay with that, but I want to also tap on what Mr. Dyson just said. Campbell, man, was such a phenomenal back in the NFL, and the guy would carry 3-4 guys across the goal line with him as he scored. But as Mr. Dyson talked about the wear and tear on Earl Campbell became very significant towards the end of his career. And even that we see this now. We have to see this. The caller talked about, why do they, if the box is loaded, why do we keep running Derrick? We are playing into the exact thing that Mr. Dyson just spoke about, the wear and tear. If they do not change their philosophy, this guy will not last in the NFL. I do agree that his pass catching ability has increased, and they do need to exploit that more. But if you see the box is continuing to be loaded, why do you continue to run this guy into a brick wall?
Yeah.
Oh, because he's Derrick Henry. He's the big mountain man.
Yeah.
And he can move a brick wall. No, gentlemen, no. We're gonna see his exit before his time.
Thank you for the call, Terrence. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I think you can bang your head against the wall only so many times before you got to do something different or adjust, right? Maybe go to a different hold to bang your head against. But he, again, in this, and we've seen it time and time again, there's a certain shelf-life for running backs, and everybody's a little bit different. Ezekiel Elliott, I'd use him as an example, right? He was Hall of Fame productivity, led the league in rushing in like a couple consecutive years. Right. He's right there. And then a decline, right? There's only so many carries or so many hits all of us have. And Derrick Henry, who's a machine, who takes care of his body, who's a healthy guy, who knows how to protect himself when he runs. He uses his arms to keep people at length. But him touching the ball 30, 40 times a game in the National Football League, that's just shortening his career.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to be strategic.
Sure.
You had to be wise in how you utilize him. So having a guy that comes in on obvious passing downs to give him a break is, to me, is not as wise as a coach or a general manager or an offensive coordinator. And then it adds another element. These other guys, these smaller guys, are a little shiftier. You got to worry about them running routes out of the backfield. It just adds a little bit to it. So, but again, I love how you used Earl Campbell as an example. And Earl Campbell would tell you, because they were running the ball 40, 50 times a game back then. Throwing like 15 times.
Sure.
It was a run-first league at that time.
615-737-1045, the number. Derrick Henry tonight, or today, I should say, 17 carries for 38 and 3 catches for 79, finishing just over 100 total yards today between the two. We go next to Ben in Bowling Green, reacting with us on Titans Talkback. What's going on, Ben?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. A little disappointing drive back from the game today. Shout out to section 328. Two things I want to talk about that are concerning is, one is our record. But,
hey, Ben, you cut out there for a second. What was that again?
Sorry about that. We're sitting in a good spot with our record, 7-4, but we don't have like a signature win. All of our losses, they're good losses, but we have not beaten a team with a winning record other than the Washington Commanders. That concerns me as a fan going forward in the stretch run. Then also, too, I want to speak on Derrick Henry. To me, it just seems like he's lost a step. since his injury last year. Like even today, when he gets in the secondary with that screen pass, I think last year he probably takes that to the house, and today he gets caught. So just wondering if you could speak on those two things and tighten up, everybody.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it.
I don't know if he's lost a step just yet. I don't see him getting reeled in from behind or anything like that. And I think to the college point, I think I kind of assume he's getting in the end zone too. And some of that was just his adjustments to what was happening in front of him. The receiver blocking for him. The corner was trying to buy time for his reinforcements to come make a play, which they did and caused a fumble. And so he wasn't one of those just run out by everybody. The dude was doing his job and keeping the angles where he can keep Derrick Henry at bay long enough that he can get somebody to chase him down. And so as far as that's concerned, I think the productivity is a little bit down than the two previous years when he was on pace for 2,000 yards. But I do believe in the last 3-4 weeks specifically, I think teams looked at this blueprint of what the Bengals did in that playoff game of 5 down linemen, right. six guys up front, if you will. Sometimes the Packers did 6 men up front, 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers,
sure did.
and then went goal line on first down and play one-on-one on the edges to say we dare somebody else to beat us. And I think until you consistently do that, have somebody else quote-unquote beat you, and that's Tannehill going back to the quarterback, right? Until you consistently do that, I think you're going to see a lot more of that where he's not able to get loose. Now, if you're having a simple 4-3 defense or a 3-4 defense where your linemen can run through their zone reads and steps and get to second level and he's reading blocks and cuts, he's going to do like he did against Houston. And he still has that in him. He still has that home run ability in him. He's still a great back. I just think right now people are like, he's not going to beat us. And
right.
and they're winning. Again, today was side, but they are winning. They're 7-4. And people are saying right now, we're going to take him out. Somebody else has to beat us. And until you consistently do that, that's what you're going to get.
And that's what goes back to the conversation we had earlier, that Treylon Burks is that guy who can beat you.
Yeah.
Treylon Burks keeps showing us time and time again that he will win one-on-one and he will make a big catch at a big moment. I mean, the 51-yard grab he had today was as good a catch the Titans have had all season.
Yeah, that was probably the best catch they've had all season.
Probably.
Well,
that and Hooper.
I was about to say that.
I was about
to say Hooper had that great catch too.
And in Green Bay for Hooper. But, I mean, look, against Houston, Derrick Henry had 32 for 219 and had 118 yards against 8+ defender boxes.
Mm-hmm.
According to Next Gen Stats, that was the most yardage by any player against stacked boxes since Derrick Henry did it the last time in 2020 in Week 9. I mean, 100+ yard games against stacked boxes since 2016. Derrick Henry has 5, and the rest of the NFL has 15.
Wow.
Now, you've got to give him a little bit more help, and certainly the offensive line, which is a little banged up, and Radens is slotted in there again at left guard today. Had a couple of penalties and a few mistakes up there up front. But ultimately, this offense is Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
I mean, this offense is predicated on Derrick Henry winning one-on-one. But today, he was never really one-on-one except for on a couple of those screen passes. They could never get him to his fourth step without B.J. Hill and D.J. Reader and Hendrickson and Hubbard, those linebackers. I mean, Cincinnati has the blueprint of the kind of defense that's going to beat the Tennessee Titans. They've got an elite nose tackle in DJ Reader, who now 2 games in a row against this team has looked as elite as he is and every bit worth the money that he's getting paid.
Yep, and he's physical. He's getting pushed, and it's hard to get going when the guy's in your face. But that's an interesting stat, and I would be interested to see the grading on the offensive line this week. See how they grade it out. I think that's a telling stat too, because I feel like for probably the simplest way to put this, they were getting man-on-man coverage, if you will, up front.
Right.
They had 5 men in front of you, and it's hat on hat, and see who wins, and did you win those battles? So I'll be interested to see their overall grade for the offensive lineman this week.
Absolutely. 615-737-1045 is how you join in on the conversation. We go next to Alex in Franklin. What's going on, Alex? Hey, Alex, you there? All right, we do not have Alex. We'll go next to Robert calling it all the way from Virginia this afternoon. What's going on, Robert?
Hey, guys. What's happening?
Not much. How are you?
All right, man. Tough loss today, man. What I'm going to say is probably not going to be a whole lot different from the rest of the fans. I think, a lot of complaint comes in, where, we love our team, man. And, nobody loves the Titans but Titans fans because we don't get any kind of publicity, and anything like that. I think most of the frustration in my part comes from, here we go again to play calling. If Derek is running the ball and it's not working, why be so predictable? I mean, just mix things up. They first down, second down, Derek Henry's coming, And to the Derek Henry thing, is another complaint that I've had all years, but the third down, taking him out, I kind of want to hit it in a different direction. Even if you don't use Derrick Henry on third down, just leave him in the field. Just leave him on the field, man, and just use him as a decoy, because when he's on the field, he's going to make the defense think that he's going to get the ball, and maybe that'll help. But to all the fans out there, man, just hang in there. I got a feeling we're gonna take Philly down, the next game, and we've looked better than we've looked in the last 2 weeks, to my opinion. I mean, Traylon Burks he's starting to come around like everybody knew he would. And I just want to as a Titan fan, man, you want to keep your hopes up and thinking that, okay, we got a chance. And we do. I mean, our record shows that we can win. And to one of the callers said that we haven't beat a pretty much an elite team yet. But in my opinion, we can do it. If they just switch things up, man, and just do better play calling and don't turn the ball over and all that, Tennessee can beat anybody, I think. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say, man. So thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, Robert.
The only thing I'll add to that, and I get the fascination with leaving him on the field, and I get it. He's the best player on the field. He needs to be out there. But I will say this, to your point, and I had a football player once, and I told him this, sometimes your greatest strength is your reputation. Because you are so good, so dynamic, that you're going to make everybody else around the field better. So sometimes you being a decoy is the best play. So I will give you that. However, when it's first down and 10, that's in second and short or something, those are opportunities. In my opinion, that is when you use him as the quote unquote decoy, the GOAT, to get the defense, to bait them for something else. Third and long, that's not a time to me. That's not a time for him to be in there. That's not the time for him to say, hey, just because he's best player, put his team on there. That's not his skill set. That's not what he's here for. So 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 15. If I can give the king a rest, I'm gonna give him a rest, especially in a circumstance like that where I'm obviously throwing the football. That sort of thing. That's my opinion, and that's how I would utilize him in that sense. But again, I love what he said about using him as a quote unquote decoy. But to me, it's circumstantial. I think first down, using him as a decoy or something to that draw the defense, second and short, 3rd and 1, things like that. Yes, that's when you start using him as a quote unquote decoy. But again, that's only so much you can do that as well, because he needs the ball in his hands, right? So, but I would agree with that to a certain extent.
I think you worry about his pass blocking ability.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
And that's the thing with him, that if he's going to be in there on third downs and just stand there and be a decoy, he's got to give you something in blocking for Ryan Tannehill. And
then again, pass blocking, if people don't realize that linebacker's coming at you 10 yards deep and you got to step up in that pocket and hit him, there's another hit.
Right.
He's not being tackled.
Sure.
That's another hit. You know what I'm saying? So that's that wear and tear in your body too.
615-737-1045, the number. We go next to Sean in Nashville. What's going on, Sean?
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Good.
Good. So I just had a couple of things. Just the first one, you guys kind of hit on it earlier about the crowd. It just kind of seemed like, our defense thrives on our crowd and how energetic we get into it. It kind of seems like, the last few primetime games we tried to show out didn't come up great against Buffalo. Same thing with Kansas City, fell short, finally showed up against Green Bay. Just kind of seemed like the crowd just kind of was on that Thanksgiving hangover as well, where we weren't really feeling it. And second one, and this is kind of, towards Kevin, with you being a former player, how is that bye week that we had so early on in the season going to come back to, affect us, especially when somebody like Big Jeff, he's playing hurt, seemed like he kind of was, going through the motions, didn't have his fast brother next to him. Just how is that bye week going to affect us with the season being so long now? Appreciate it, guys.
I tell you what, one of the first things I looked at when the schedule came out was when was that bye week. Preferably you want it somewhere in the middle, right? You want to we had 4 preseason games, obviously, at the time. You got the 4 preseason games, and you're thinking anywhere from 6 to 8 week. So you're talking about 6 games to 8 games in the season, which would have put you somewhere in the middle. And then you look at maybe that 10 to 12 range. I didn't want to be too far up and too far down for different reasons. Too far up, that's a long haul. That's
Absolutely,
a long haul.
it is.
But too far down, depending on how the season's going, you may have a rhythm, and that can disrupt that rhythm. And sometimes these mini buys can do the same thing, but they're also beneficial from a rest standpoint too, a mental break standpoint, where we played on Thursday, we get back, I study film, get better stretch, whatever you need to do from a rest standpoint, because it is a long season. So playing on a Thursday night and then having those 2 additional days is almost like a mini bye week anyway. But from a player standpoint, man, I know I used to look at it, just see where he's at, of like, okay, here's our bye week. It was in October. Okay, cool. That's usually towards the middle of the seasons, in middle to late October. And you're like, okay, so I can get my rest. And now the long haul, we got 10, 11, 12 games left. But it is beneficial to have these mini buys, if you will, just from a rest standpoint. But if you have that bye too soon or too late, man, it can wear on your body a little bit.
Absolutely.
It's rough.
615-737-1045 is the number. And when we come back, we take more of your reaction to the Bengals win over the Titans today in Nissan Stadium. Richard and Christopher will lead us off on the other side. Plenty more time to take your reaction too if you would like to. Join us on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company on 104.5 The Zone. Titans Talkback is presented by League Company on 104.5 The Zone, reacting to a Titans defeat in Nissan Stadium. 20-16, the final score as the Bengals get the win this afternoon. Titans Talkback presented by League Company. League Company, all you need. Visit them online at leaguecompany.com. Next up, we go to Richard, who is in Nashville, chiming in with us, where you can join us at 615-737-1045. Good afternoon, Richard.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Great.
Good, man. How you?
I'm not sure why so many people are surprised about the 8 or 9 men in the box. We've had it for many, many years, all the time. The biggest difference is for those people who wanted Taylor Lewan gone, you're seeing some of that result. In fairness, Saffold is gone too. That's part of it too. But Taylor Lewan does a great job of paving that edge and letting him get out there, and we're not getting it now. I will say I'm surprised. I think as far as pass protection, they're not horrible, but you really see the difference on the on run, and that's my biggest.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. I think we lost him there at the end, but I think it's a good point, Dr. Dyson, that this team has had a lot of success against stacked boxes with Derrick Henry playing at that position, and now you've had to, because of salary cap situations and because of money and long-term deals, and you want to extend Ryan Tannehill when you did, and you want to pay a lot of money to Bud Dupree and Harold Landry. Well, Harold Landry's out for the season. I mean, it's forced you to go a little bit cheaper on that offensive line that is now banged up too. And today you're down 2 starters from the 5 that started the season when you talk about Ben Jones and Lewan at left tackle as well.
Yeah. And, when especially your bookends, right? That's always going to be a detriment to your team, especially you relying on guys that starters, been consistent starters for you in the league. And, Taylor Lewan's had his ups and downs this year, his last few years, especially with injuries, even with his performance. But he has been a Pro Bowler, a guy who gets it. He's seen everything. He's seen just about every pass rusher in this league. And so there's something to say about that experience and that him overcoming adversity in those times of game. So we got guys that are young, that are inexperienced, that are still learning. They're still learning the opponents across from them. Still learning techniques. Still learning when they can set their butts down and when to maybe kick a little harder, get a little deeper in the pass protection. All the nuances of playing offensive line, and that has a bearing in it. But I also believe too, and again, I think that's where you as a coordinator try to help your guys. And I did see some play action passing, maybe some flash fakes and maybe a full out boot action and things of that nature. I think that's a way to help your offensive line, get them moving. But again, that's taking Derrick Henry, using him as a decoy. How much of that do? You still got him, the best player on the field. Do we take the ball in his hands? Well, they did a play action fake and they screened it right to him, set it up nicely. Goes for what was it, 60? How long that pass was?
For Derrick, it was 69 yards.
69 yards, right? And it was coming off a play fake. They extended it, sold it real nice. The lineman got some movement and they hit and released, got to second level, made some key blocks. They sprung him. That's the type of stuff you got to start to develop.
Yep.
And start moving on to just lining up and beating a guy across from you. It's not working right now.
We go next to Christopher on the phone lines, where you can join us at 615-737-1045. Hey, Christopher.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
My comment would be this. As Titans fans, we are going to continue to ride this emotional roller coaster that is our offense until this franchise learns to put more of an emphasis in the passing game and build a team that the passing game is independent of the run game. Right now, this team is built for the passing game to be off the run game. So if the run game isn't working, the passing game is also going to struggle because it's not consistent to be effective enough to bail the offense out being behind the chains or bail the offensive coordinator out when he's not adjusting or makes a bad play call. So that would be my comment.
Yeah. Thanks, Christopher. I think there's some truth to that, but they just did it in Lambeau last Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, they beat the Packers with a meh effort on offense running the football there, but they played complimentary football.
I'm saying, but they got stops.
Right. They got stops when the offense needed to pick me up.
Yeah.
And then when the Packers went down and scored, the Titans had an answer. I mean, Mike Vrabel talks about this so much, and it's accurate that you have to complement the other side of the football when the other part of this needs to be picked up. But the Titans did it in Lambeau Field, despite not running the football particularly well. But they did not do it today, and I think that comes down to the red zone offense.
Yeah. The biggest difference, too, was they had one big passing play, or two. You had the one Derrick Henry and the one of Chandler Burks. They had a bunch of plays, if you will, in the passing game, the extended drives that were more than we had seen them in the previous weeks. And even though the running game wasn't working, but the defense got that critical stop when they needed to. Again, this game wasn't ugly. It was just like a game of like hit and miss here and there, a penalty that extended the drive when it should have been done, or the fumble that ended up being recovered for a touchdown. It was just a bunch of like little stuff like that. Like even that last drive up until that last moment where they called it, whatever they called, unnecessary roughness or targeting, whatever they called on that last play on the center, even up until that moment, you still felt like they have a shot. And then they get the penalty, like, well, there's another one of those, well, that's one drive killer or one drive extending play that the Titans messed up on. It wasn't like an ugly, ugly loss, which it was just weird. It just had a weird feel to it. It wasn't like coming into the studio today. It was like when they lost to Buffalo. You're like,
right.
That was ugly. Like, I don't know what they're going to do the rest of the year. It wasn't like that. This was like, a few things tightened up here and there, and this definite different outcome.
Yep.
And we're talking about a team that just won their 8th game and going to Philly. Now we're talking a team 7-4 that's still right there in the hunt, 34th spot in the AFC, and they got some tough matchups. They still got 3 divisional opponent games going, and that they can still win, still get a home football game if it all works out the way it still is trending right now, and then we'll see what happens.
It's interesting. This from NFL.com today, Kevin Dyson. The Bengals are the only team to play the Titans 3 or more times since Mike Vrabel was hired in 2018 and remain undefeated against them. Zach Taylor still perfect against Mike Vrabel since he got the job in 2018. The only team to play the Titans 3 or more times and remain undefeated against them since Mike Vrabel became the Titans head coach.
That's crazy.
Got the number.
People are going to remind Vrabel that, too. So if he sees him in the playoffs, that's something in his head, man.
That's right. 615-737-1045. No doubt about it. We go next to Alex in Franklin here on Titans Talkback. Hey, Alex.
Hey, guys. Listen, I was going to talk about the offensive line, but let me say one thing. They beat us on both sides of the line, okay?
Yeah.
I was wondering if Jeffrey was even in the game. I know they were probably double teaming him, but I didn't really see him come alive until the end of the game where, he made a couple of tackles and things like that. But the main reason I called was because I got cut off about an hour ago. And, our offensive line, yes, they were getting beat. But the reason Derek got caught in the backfield, at least in the first half, the tendencies that the Bengals were doing, they were bringing a cornerback up, and he was getting into his feet. So we should have been seeing that the first half dozen times, and we should have been taking care of those guys who were coming up, and they were coming strictly for Derek's feet. And if we don't react to those tendencies that are happening in the first half, and they continue to happen in the second half, it's why we were behind the chains first and second down on so many drives, because we were not reacting to their tendencies of bringing up a cornerback. So, and Dr. Dyson, I'm the one who wanted to replace your buzzer at Centennial, and I'm still going to do it. So
I appreciate that too, man.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate
yeah,
the call.
you remember me.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Listen, that's it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, he's right. I think, again, how many times you keep banging your head against the
Right.
wall and hope for a different result. And again, I think Downey also, I said this last week, you go with your temperament, your head coach. You can't come in and just start throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game. That's not Vrabel's mindset. He's a defensive-minded guy. He's a field position, time of possession. He's calculating extra possessions and things of that nature, when to use timeouts, when to use challenge flags. He's very intelligent when it comes to that sort of thing of football, very in tune with the rules and aspects of the game. My question mark of it all is, I get this is what we do and this is who we are. This is our identity. We're a physical football team. We're going to run Derrick Henry. But to what detriment? To what end? If they're putting 5, 6 guys at the point of attack and they're saying your guys can't beat us consistently and we're not able to get him going, how are we going to be able to get this man going? What do we do to adjust that, to make them come out of that, to maybe do something a little bit different? Do we put him in on 11 personnel as a single back and switch that up, switch who's in at that time, and now you got nickel and dime personnel in on, that's what you're doing on first down, because now they can't have 5 down linemen in there, so maybe you do that.
Right.
Or do you put 3 tight ends in the game and 1 receiver and Trellin Burke and with Derrick Henry in the game, and you go empty? And then you just do some quick step drops, hitches, and quick outs and things of that nature because you got extra D linemen in there. What are you going to do with 5 D linemen? You going to keep their hands down, or are you going to space them out? Well, now I know if you space them out, it's zone. He's not covering Trellin Burks or whoever in open space. So what do you do there? So those are some of the counter moves I'm anticipating to see. Now, they may have stuff they're working on, anticipating getting to their playoffs and say, this is what we're going to do, because there's some saving of that too. You don't want to show too much because you got a longer season ahead of you. But at this point, if you don't continue to find ways to put up points, that second season may not happen.
Right.
So you got to get some wins, stacks of wins. Now, there's no panic button going. I don't think even today wasn't a panic button, but it's still, what are we going to do, since that is the emphasis is stopping Derrick Henry.
Titans Talkback is presented by Lee Company Facility Managers. Need a reliable partner for their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical needs. They trust Lee Company's 24/7 service and their team of experts. Your next play, visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. 615-737-1045 is the number. We go to Doug and Kevin after the break as we continue to take your phone calls from a 20-16 win for the Cincinnati Bengals over the Tennessee Titans. Bengals 20, Titans 16, a third straight defeat for Tennessee to Cincinnati in as many seasons. 7-4 and a trip to Philadelphia on deck for the Titans. More on that as we continue. Titans Talkback presented by Lee Company here tonight, the Week 12 edition on 104.5 The Zone. With Kevin Dyson, I'm Will Boling. As we go back to the phone lines, you can join us there at 615-737-1045. Doug in Lebanon is up next. Hello, Doug.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I was just probably going to beat a dead horse here, but, I mean, the biggest issues I see right here is the play calling, the predictabilities. Sitting on your couch, you should never be able to call the play that's going to happen that you see during the game. I don't really necessarily blame the offensive line or Tannehill. My issues is, you know, we're putting a lot of wear and tear on the defense to carry the team, you know, here later part in the season. And, you know, coming from a coaching standpoint, you know, they're going to wear down. And then what are we going to turn to? Because they're carrying us in a lot of these games, and we have nowhere to turn. You know, and John Robinson as a GM has to go out and improve this roster offensively. I mean, it's just you can sit here and dumb it down all you want, but then at the end of the day, we got to have more talent around the offensive side of the football. And, you know, as far as the guys talking about walking 9 in the box, you know, Tannehill's got to check off on that. I know he's got a bum up ankle or whatever, but, you know, he's a pro. He's got to check it off and make the plays. And one thing I see, too, that hurts us is, you know, we don't have that tight end threat that we've had over the years that, you know, they can go down the middle of the field, stretch the field out a little bit like Ferkser, you know, and those guys. So, but that's it. You know, hey, guys, thanks for taking my call. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. I think Chigakonkwo can become that vertical threat.
For a tight end, yeah.
He's piecing it together. It's just hasn't totally come together for him. 5 targets today. He had 3 catches for 35 yards, a 17-yard reception in this one. There was another play, too, by the way, if we're going to talk about calls that affected this game. The vertical route over the middle that Ryan Tannehill threw to him, and a defensive back for Cincinnati got away with holding him back just a split second as he hit his break over the middle of the field, and just one little tap on the shoulder pad. And better tight ends in this league get an illegal contact call there all the time. I thought that was actually one of the biggest misses that Carl Cheffers and his crew had today. But nevertheless, you're going to need somebody else to step up on this offense. It can't just be Treylon Burks now, because before it was, all right, you know, Robert Woods is doing his job. He's fine. He's a technician. He's getting open. Need Treylon Burks. Need somebody else to step up. I think this offense needs 2 playmakers per game to help out Derrick Henry in order to take the pressure off of him, because it is not sustainable. Once you get into these really good teams that you've got down the stretch, good teams like Cincinnati are going to take away what you do best, and that's exactly what they did today.
Yeah, and to your point, yes, I think you need to have a couple guys going to have to step up consistently, or else you're going to continue to get this dare somebody else to beat us mentality these teams are showing right now. The other part of that you mentioned, like the play to Okonkwo, I thought that was a very good schematic play, and Derrick Henry got pressure. Had he been able to use his legs, that was all arms, because he had pressure on him, so he kind of threw that with arms. He'd been able to throw it. He would have floated just enough to be able to let him to run underneath that ball. And that bump and all that wouldn't even matter, because I think it would have been the kind of loft that he needed for that ball.
Right.
And so that goes to show you, to your point, of just a game of literally inches, because that was almost another big play. But he's also a guy, we talked about it the last couple of weeks, him and Hooper are becoming guys who are becoming bona fide targets. Now, are they game breakers like Kelsey as we watch? No, he's a rare breed, right? He's one of the elites for a reason. But they can be solid contributors and productive contributors on this team, and they are starting to elevate into that level. That is, and again, I'm going to go back to what we've been talking about. That is why I feel like on first early downs, short distance downs, how can I get other guys involved where it's typical running downs and everybody selling out to stop Derrick Henry? how do you use the other guys around? Like you said, somebody's going to have to step up. Traylon Burks is trending that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to grow, starting to get comfortable, confident in his skin, starting to develop as a receiver right in front of our eyes. The tight ends, Hooper and Okonkwo in particular, are starting to develop right before our eyes. So now how do we use that to help out the rest of our game, the rest of our running game, rest of our passing game, things of that nature?
They certainly are better at tight end than they were last year.
Yep.
I think we can say that confidently because they didn't have a player like Chig Okonkwo in that room last year.
Yeah.
So, and the caller kind of making the point that Anthony Ferkser is a vertical threat. Anthony Ferkser was more of a technician underneath, finding the soft spot in the coverage on third downs. The vertical threat at tight end is Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, that was the vertical threat.
That was the vertical threat.
Yeah. Delaney Walker was a vertical threat.
Absolutely.
Jonnu Smith was a vertical threat.
And I think Chig Okonkwo is too.
I was about to say, I think
you,
he'd be one too.
He's so similar to Jonnu. He's very, very similar.
A little shorter, but he's definitely,
right.
more compact, but can run.
Mm-hmm.
I
Absolutely.
agree. Absolutely. I agree. And, as we watch Travis Kelce, who's a vertical
Right.
threat, he's a medium, short range, vertical guy. He does a little bit of everything.
And he gets every call in the world. You could breathe on that guy, and you're going to get illegal contact because the officials think, oh, Travis Kelce didn't make that play. Well, something must have
happened.
gone wrong in order for that to happen.
Yeah. But, and again, I do like the way the guys are trending in the passing game. I think Vrabel even said it before the game. He talked about we do have something in the last two games to build on. But I think you also need to be strategic on how you're building on that. You can't just third and long, we're going to, like you say, throw it up and see if they're going to make a play. We have to be strategic, help the guys out in the sense of the play calling, help Derrick Henry out in the play calling and not be to the point where you're putting yourselves behind the downs and the chains, I should say, and now you're having to throw. And now it's on first down and everybody in the buildings make the assumption is going to Derrick Henry.
Right.
Well, I get it. I've given the ball all the time too.
Yep.
But something has to give, and I think teams are daring you to try something different, and that's what you're going to have to do.
No doubt. 615-737-1045 is the number this evening if you want to jump in here on Titans Talkback. We got just over 30 more minutes left to take your reaction to today's loss. And up next, we have Kevin in Clarksville chiming in. Hello, Kevin.
Yes, sir. How we doing today, fellas? Thanks for taking my call.
We're good.
How you doing, man?
Yes, sir. So, I'm doing pretty good, KD. Hey, so I just want to talk. I have been watching a couple of games, and I've seen other teams do it. And right when I was thinking about it today, the Bengals actually did it when they was on offense. The back shoulder throws to the wide receivers. I don't see Tannehill throwing them. I don't see that being in the play calling. That's one. And then not to beat the dead horse, but the offensive line and the stacking of the box. And I heard somebody call earlier saying, yeah, we've been doing that for years with them. Yeah, we have, but we had a better offensive line when we were doing that. Now, these guys we got now, they're not starters. They're like replacements to our starters. You can't do the same thing you used to do. You have to break away from that and try something new. And I'll hang up and I'll let you guys know. Thank you for the opportunity. I thank you guys for all you do for the service members and supporting us as well, too. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate the call.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And the comment about the back shoulder throws is exactly the point I made earlier. That when you've got 3rd and 13, the Bengals have the ability to convert those with back shoulder throws to T. Higgins and back shoulder throws to Trenton Irwin and Trent Taylor and Hayden Hurst, who had a good game with 6 catches for 57 yards. And the Titans are so much more willing to throw the screen and basically just start playing for the punt.
Yep.
Than they are to throw the back shoulder ball to Traylon Burks or Robert Woods or whoever else it is.
Yeah. And, again, I mean, there's 2 different levels there. There's one right in the middle of the field. You see a lot to tight ends, one-on-one, run through, and they throw the back shoulder. The ones on the outside, those, as easy as people seem to make, you have to practice those.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if that's part of their game planning. A lot of teams have it built in, specifically in the red zone. Instead of doing a typical fade in the back corner, they do like a back shoulder by the pylon, front pylon, fade. Some do it in the middle of the field. They see an automatic check. You get a bump coverage. I know we had it against we put it in specifically for the Miami Dolphins who played man-to-man bump coverage. Anytime we saw bump 1-on-1, that was the adjustment. We do back shoulder fades, and
Yeah.
you complete them, and it's still it's a little bit more statistically better than a 50-50, but it's still a low percentage play, right? So I don't know if that's part of their offense, other than the ones that Tannehill and the guys do within the middle field that typically go to the tight end on linebackers. I haven't seen them throw back shoulder fades to the outside.
Hasn't really been the case since A.J. Brown. I mean,
Yeah.
you would see them go to that at times in the red zone with A.J., but even then, I mean, it's just not something
I don't think they do it.
No, I mean, it feels like this offense is so much more comfortable with Ryan Tannehill throwing the in-breaking routes than they are him throwing outside the numbers to the sideline.
And that may be something they, from their self-scout, from scouting him, that they recognize that within him putting stuff right in front of his target line, his face line.
Absolutely. With you on that for sure. We got a Mike in Nashville up next, or you could join us at 615-737-1045. Hey, Mike.
Hey there.
Yeah, we're there.
Good deal. Hey, thanks for what you do, guys. I've been, hearing a lot. Every now and then somebody says we have a bunch of second stringers out here. And, of course, I also hear every now and then that Derrick Henry is the best player out there. And no doubt, he is a great guy, and that's important. But there are other great guys out there as well, in my opinion. And I don't know how to get the best out of Derrick Henry, but he got caught in the backfield about 5 times today. It never got started, and I don't think that Dontrell Hilliard would have gotten caught all that often. That's my personal opinion. Don't know. But anyway, finding the right combination will help the offensive line as well. They're beleaguered right now, the way I see it. Anyway, thanks for taking my call, and I'll get off the line.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate the call.
Hilliard had 2 carries for 16 today, 1 for 11 yards and 1 for 5.
Mm-hmm. Solid as a backup.
Yeah.
And I think another underestimated skill is his ability to catch. You saw the one he had against the Packers, the first touchdown. I think it was the first touchdown.
Yep.
How naturally he caught that ball.
He did.
I mean, he's a route runner / pass catcher, and that's not diminishing the ability of Derrick Henry, because as you mentioned, he's having career numbers when it comes to being a pass catcher. But that's not his natural fit. That's not his natural game. He is a ball carrier. He's a runner. But I do appreciate and like the fact that they are trying to find other ways to get him involved and having him so he can have an impact on the game.
Sure.
He absolutely, although it was one play, had an impact on this game, right? If for nothing else, the way they called their defense. But the big play, the one touchdown the Titans had was because of him touching the football.
Right.
So he's still having an impact.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not what we've been accustomed to the past 2 years when he's a 2,000-yard rusher. It's in different ways right now.
Sure. 615-737-1045, the number. We go to Uber King in Nashville. Hello, Uber King. How are you?
Hey, I'm fine, man. I'm fine. First off, I want to thank y'all for having this show. And everybody been talking about everything. I want to let everybody know that when the Titans lose, it hurts the Ubers out here, y'all. The tips, and they ain't on fleek no more. They're getting a leak, all right? So we need these tips, survive. But we can maybe go to a game or something. But back to the game. I'm getting to the game. All right, let's start this. Everybody want to talk about nobody want to talk about the beginning, but everybody want to talk about the ending. All right, we got to look at where we messed up at. We had the team. We had the ball going in there, and everybody catching them, running the ball 2,000 yards. And one thing we did wrong was we gave Tannehill that big contract. I'm sorry. That's a contract that should have went to Derrick Henry. Because if we didn't give that contract to Derrick Henry, then we could have got rid of Tannehill, which we know now that we live in. Every time Tannehill throw a bad pass, that's when his ankle hurts. When he gets sacked, that's when his ankle hurts. That's when he limps. When I had McNair in the game, he walked on the game limping with broken legs and ankles and everything and won the game. But now we got this dude out here just, I'm sorry, I love Tannehill, but now I think we could have kept A.J. Brown and we would have not gave Tannehill that big contract. We would have been able to go. We got to pay him all this money this year, pay Tannehill all this money, and nobody was going to pay Tannehill for that money. He'll pay for a high school for that money. I'm sorry. Nobody wanted to get Tannehill. So we stuck with him, And now we got to use what we got to get what we want, and what we got ain't what we want. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to win, man. That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
And I know that if you say Derrick Henry's the best man on the field, why he ain't getting paid the best money on the field? You know what I'm saying? So let's keep it gangster. You know, if we would have did one thing, that's what we messed up at. Should have just gave Tannehill a regular contract. He just came in the game. Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards a year. Why he didn't get? You call him the king, then you treat him like the princess.
Thank you for the call, Uber King. Appreciate it.
I think the problem with that is it's not a problem, and I agree with him. I think it is the premium on the position and not the person.
Yes.
I think the NFL's premium goes on the quarterbacking versus running back. Running backs now are viewed a lot different. It's not like it was if we're going back to the college previous Earl Campbell. If he was in that era, even with Eddie's era, he would be one of the highest paid players in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
But the premium is now shifted. It's primarily quarterback. It's a quarterback-driven league. They're driving the dollars. Running backs, with the limited wear and tear of tire tread on their careers now, guys are not having 10 productive years. There's probably 4 to 7 year of a window of opportunity for a back to be productive before they move on to the next back.
Right.
Quarterbacks, if you get a good one, they can be in your play caller for 10, 11, 12, and if you're lucky, you get somebody like Tom Brady, 20 years, right? How long has Aaron Rodgers been the man?
Right. He's been around for a long time.
Mahomes are watching. He's not going anywhere. Josh Allen's not going anywhere. Tom Brady only went because they got to the point. It was like, man, you've been here 20 years. We got to move on at some point. That's the only reason why they moved on from him.
Right.
You know, Drew Brees just retired. He was there for a long time. Peyton Manning, even before he went to Denver, primarily they moved on. It's like, here's the time. He's some injuries. We don't know how he's going to come back from this. They let go. But other than that, he was there for a very long time. Quarterbacks, the premium in the league is on the quarterbacks. And so running backs, not that they come a dime a dozen because he obviously is a rare breed, but they're viewed a lot different from a value and economic standpoint.
I'm with you. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. We give you the number because we have one more segment. And our last call for phones as we look ahead as well to Titans and Eagles coming up next Sunday. And you'll get a close look at those Eagles coming up tonight on Sunday Night Football, which you can hear right here on the Zone as soon as we wrap up. 30 more minutes left in the show. 615-737-1045 is the number. Titans Talkback is presented by League Company. League Company, all you need. Visit them online at leaguecompany.com. Final score again today in Nissan Stadium. It's Bengals 20 and Titans 16. One final segment of your reaction to the Titans' loss to the Cincinnati Bengals today inside Nissan Stadium. Welcome back into Titans Talkback, presented by League Company. The phone number, 615-737-1045. As we go rapid fire on the phones coming up here for the next 20 minutes, as well as a look ahead to next week for the Titans as they travel to the city of brotherly love to take on a former teammate in A.J. Brown and the Philadelphia Eagles. With Kevin Dyson, I'm Will Boling. We go back to the phones where Stan is in Hendersonville up next. Hello, Stan. How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all this evening?
Great.
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Hey, man, this is a season ticket holder since day one. So, Dr. Dyson, I was there and actually saw the Music City Miracle. And I was actually there. A lot of people say they were, but I was there.
So I'm assuming you didn't leave early then. I'm assuming you stayed.
No, I didn't leave early. I remember looking at my wife going, "You want to leave?" And she goes, "No, let's just wait." And then I saw you running down the sidelines, and I was actually saying, "Go out of bounds, because all we needed was a field goal."
Right.
You know. And I was going, "Go out of bounds, go out of bounds." And then I go, No, don't go out of bounds, don't go out of bounds.
Love it. Love it.
No, yeah. So anyway, so I'm extremely frustrated with our offensive play calling. Whoever's making it, I'm super frustrated with that. Derrick Henry runs the ball 90 to 95% of the time on first down. Go check it. 95 to 90% of the time on first down, he's running the ball. If you got 5 and 6 men defensive linemen in there and 2 linebackers right on their butt, why can you not put Hilliard and Henry in there at the same time? Put them in there at the same time if you're bound and determined to do that. And then they don't know what's going to happen. You know, Henry may get the ball, may not. Why can they not use both of those guys at the same time, even on third down? And I'll hang up and listen.
Thanks, Stan. Appreciate it. They did do that a couple of times in this game. You talk about tendency breakers. I feel like every time they do, it's some kind of screen pass to one of them.
Yeah.
And there was actually one of Hilliard's 3 catches in this game. They had both of them on the field at the same time. They faked the screen to Henry. They were trying to go to the backside, the short side of the field, to Traylon Burks on a screen. He was covered. And then Tannehill just fired basically a lateral to Hilliard, who went for -3.
Yeah.
Because that's when you had Dennis Daly as the ineligible man downfield. That was then declined and set up a 3rd and 13 for the Titans.
Yeah. And I like that as a change-up, too. I think it's something to consider. I think maximizing your personnel groupings is another way that Titans are going to be able to manipulate some of these defensive fronts they're getting. And I said it earlier about, if you're going with a 32 personnel, 3 tight ends, 2 backs, why not go empty set and then see what happens? If they're going to have 5 D linemen in the game, if they're going to have 5 D linemen in the game when you spread out like that, what are you going to do? I just dump it off. I can put in the young boy, Malik, and then run quarterback draw or something. Just give you something else to think about. Just something else to consider. I just think you got to sometimes manipulate your situation to get the result you desire. And what I mean by that is maybe moving pieces around, not just being stable. If Derrick Henry's always behind the center, meaning back in the backfield 7 yards deep, I know where he is at all points. But if I'm moving him around too, and I can still get him the ball on different facets, that changes. That's a game changer too. You can't just sit back there with 5 down linemen. So I don't know. I know they're thinking about all this kind of stuff, and then maybe they have some of the stuff in the works. Maybe there's something they're considering because they know they got to play Jacksonville twice and things of that nature. Like, they got some things to worry about as they try to clinch the division, get home, some sort of home field, whether it's throughout the playoffs or just the first one, whatever it may be. You got to hold something in your hat because you can't just unveil everything, But I think from a fan's perspective, we want to see something. And that's where we're getting at. Like, okay, what is the counter move? What are you going to do? Yes, we know Derrick Henry's the man. He's the king. But they are keen on him. What are you going to do next? I think that's what the fans are asking.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Tanner in Cheatham County is up next this evening. Hello, Tanner.
Guys, how are you? Appreciate you taking the call. Just a couple of things. First thing on my mind is just, I think Vrabel, we get a ton out of him. I feel like John Robinson isn't quite pulling his weight, and I think watching the Bengals today, who had so many offensive line problems last year. They got them fixed in the off season, and we're still really struggling. And injuries notwithstanding, just the shape of the roster is especially on the offensive side of the ball is really tough to accept. I mean, the caller before we beat the A.J. Brown horse to death, but it's just tough to accept the state of the roster on that side of the ball. And then the play calling. I mean, my goodness, if I see the 5 wide formation with 3 tight ends, a running back, and Cody Hollister again, I think I'll have to turn the television off. I'm no play caller, but my goodness, there's no separation.
Right.
We call it the run, pass, punt offense.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's awful to watch. And I mean, the defense is fantastic. Bless them for, getting this team to where it's at. But it's just so frustrating to see the lack of progress, roster and play calling on the offensive side of the ball. But I'll hang up and listen. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Tanner. And the one thing I'll push back on with that call is that the Bengals still have not fixed their offensive line issues.
No.
They looked fixed today because they had a good game plan against the Titans defense, but Joe Burrow's been sacked 32 times this season, which is second most to the NFL.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, one of the sacks the Titans had today, he held the ball forever.
Yeah, he did.
That wasn't even on the offensive line. That was on him.
Right.
They would probably argue that some of those sacks that they have are on him because I saw evidence of that today. I'm like, do something.
Right.
Get rid of it.
Right.
And then there was another one they got the intentional grounding. Again, another one he held on to, and he tried to avoid the sack, but he was holding on to the ball a long time.
I think if you want to make the comment about talent deficiencies on this team, you can certainly make that argument. And there are a lot of places where the Titans are feeling the consequences of their actions in the past. And I think where that is the 2 pandemic drafts and the Isaiah Wilson problem that happens with that pick. And the 2021 first-round pick you have in Caleb Farley, who's out once again with an injury and is not playing. I mean, you can only withstand so many mistakes in the draft evaluation process. And right now, the Titans have done a masterful job in finding the Trey Averys of the world and the Dylan Coles and DeMarcus Walker and Mario Edwards and the guys that were not household names who have come into this locker room and have made themselves household names. But your margin for error playing that way and coaching that way is razor thin. And to me today, what it comes down to is you are 0 for 3 scoring touchdowns in the red zone, and your margin for error is not big enough with the guys that you have in your arsenal to overcome that kind of performance by your offense when it matters the most in the red area.
Yeah, I'd agree. Absolutely. I think draft obviously is not exact science. Free agency is not exact science.
Right.
And you have to, and you hear Vrabel say this, we have to develop the guys we have.
Sure.
Now, so here's the counter to that, to what we're talking about. They had a record 91 moves last year?
I believe that's right. Yeah, I think 91 was the number. Yep.
And they had the first round best overall record in AFC, right?
They did.
With 91 moves. There's something to say about that too.
Absolutely.
Right? That you still got production out of guys, and you still be able to develop your scouting department, still be able to bring guys in and out. You will still be able to get guys prepared to be productive, to still win football games. And this year, they're still having a lot of transition as far as guys in and out. Offensive line issue, defensive line, linebacker, secondary, as you mentioned, receiver just getting back. Quarterback was out for a couple games, and they won those games. Like, they have found ways. Regardless, I know there's been some naysaying on some of the things they have done from a personnel standpoint, but when you look at a thing in totality, when you look at what they have done as far as personnel and shifting, they've used 3 kickers.
Yeah, they have.
3 kickers.
They have.
I mean, that's unheard of, right?
Titans had used the second most players this season coming into today's game.
Wow. Again, wrapped at the top of the
behind
league.
Only the Arizona Cardinals, who now have used 77. Today, Caleb Shudak and Andre Smith, linebacker, became the 74th and 75th players to appear in a game for the Titans this season, trailing only the Cardinals, who have 77.
Wow. Again, high volume of transition.
That's right.
And they keep finding ways. Now, that doesn't necessarily give them the pass on the stuff they have missed that you alluded to.
Sure.
But the other guys, the back end guys, the guys you are underestimated or underrated, they've been able to bring in some pretty good guys that have contributed and been productive.
615-737-1045, the number. Up next, Philip in Laverne chimes in with us on Titans Talkback. Hey, Philip.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing? Can you hear me?
We got you.
Sir.
All right. Man, I just want to get back to, when Derrick Henry had a lot more success in the past, he had a fullback a lot of times, or with a pulling guard or with a pulling tackle to make more space, not just in the A gap, but in the B gap as well. And what I'd like to see is if the offense can do their job and not just doing the same old run, pass, but if they can get more hybrid looking, like the old Arthur Smith style of play. And I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, thanks, Philip. Yeah, they've got to do something to be more creative in the way they get Derrick Henry the football.
I think so. I just think the way people are lining up against them, you just can't. Maybe, and the mentality seems to be we can line up against them. You need to win that battle from you. We're going to be who we are. We're going to run the football, and there's some good to that too, because that is who you don't want to get away solely from your identity. You just can't all of a sudden come run some helter-skelter offense. You have to be somewhat consistent. But I think you still got to look at it, evaluate it, and look at it and say, okay, this is what teams are doing to us. How can we help this man?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is motioning him from an empty set back in. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what it is looking at film, but it just sitting there lining up and say we're going to beat mano and mano and we got the bigger back. He's going to be able to run everybody over. That's not working.
Right.
He hasn't been as quote unquote productive as a runner the past few weeks. And that's the mentality of people. He's not going to be the one to beat us.
615-737-1045. Next, we go to John, waiting patiently to chime in with us. Hey, John. Hey, John, you there? All right, can't get John. We will move on to Ryan, who is in Nashville, next up on the phone lines. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, what's up? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. Hey, I just wanted to ask y'all's opinion on our last offensive drive. We had a pretty good drive going. I thought we had momentum, and then we got to that 4th and 5, and we made the decision to kick the field goal. In my head, I was thinking I thought we should have went for it, and I just wanted to I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I actually thought the same thing in the moment.
Yeah.
I thought it made sense considering Caleb Shudak, the rookie, had already missed one kick. I mean, it flies in the face of what has gotten the Titans to this point. I get it, right? I mean, the defense has made plays week in and week out when you've needed them to win a game with their backs against the wall.
Yeah.
But the way that Cincinnati had just gone down and scored on the previous possession, and the way that they were taking just big chunks of clock away from you. I mean, you look at their touchdown at the end of the half, 9 plays, 92 yards, 5 minutes and 34 seconds. The field goal at the end of the third quarter, 14 plays, 58 yards, takes 5 minutes and 19 seconds. They get 3 points. And then the drive before where they get their touchdown, 6 plays, 70 yards, and that one takes 1:57. I thought it made sense to go ahead and go for it on 4th and 5 and go for the lead there.
Yeah, and I think you feel like at that point, Cincinnati wasn't like scaring you. Like again, I don't feel like the way the Bengals offense was moving the football up until really at the end there, where you felt like they were dominating the Titans defense. So I think you feel like your defense was playing well enough that you can get another stop. Again, the unknown commodity was how is this young guy going to perform as a kicker? This is his first real action as a kicker in the National Football League. And to my best estimation, other than the miss, he did pretty well. But as a coach, I'm looking at that too in the field position game. Let me see. But again, what are you going to do with that play call? Was that a substantial play to really get the yardage? Was it just I don't know. It is that whole argument. People
right,
and he looks at all the metrics, has people that gives him all the metrics and things of that nature. So I'm sure he's thought that through. But I think one of the unknown commodities being what can this kicker do was probably drove the decision.
We go next to Michael on the phone lines here in the final couple minutes of our show here tonight. Hey, Michael. Michael, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Hey, first of all, shout out to Section 342. Been a season ticket holder for 8 years. Haven't missed a game. It's not my spot to complain about GMs and offensive coordinators and all that business. What I want to talk about is the fact that there's just a lack of good old-fashioned hate when it comes to coming into our stadium.
Mm-hmm.
We lost to them. They act like they own Nashville in 2022. I have to listen to that Houday garbage the whole time out of the way of the stadium.
I'm with you.
And it bugs the crap out of me is that they wanted an ugly game. We gave it to them. That's our game, too. We find a way to lose. And, we didn't establish the run. We'd run Henry once, and then we put Hilliard in, and we want to sling it. And I just don't like the fact that I feel like going into a new stadium where we're a transient town, there's going to be a lot of other fans, less fans with the new stadium based on the capacity they describe, that we need some good old-fashioned hate in that place to let you know that when you come in here, it's going to be a problem for you and that we're coming for you, whether you beat us or not. And they didn't win anything last year. We got put out in the playoffs just like they did. No AFC championship, no business like that. It just bothered me that I had to listen to that garbage the whole way out of the stadium when we just roll out there and just don't get the win.
I love it. Thank you, Michael. That's the call of the day because he is 100% right.
Yeah.
100%. There were a lot of Cincinnati fans there today. There are a lot of fans that come to Nashville a lot. I'm not going to ever tell anyone to be rude to opposing fans. That's not obviously what I'm a proponent of, but maybe like having so many fans call in and talking about how nice Titans fans were. I mean, I don't know. I'm not telling you to be mean to opposing fans, but I'm telling you, that was not the atmosphere I expected today in Nissan Stadium. I thought it was going to be a lot saltier towards the Bengals, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And you move on, and maybe the next one will be, and who knows? But Dallas Cowboys come here in about a month, and they're going to be here in numbers.
Oh, they're going to be deep. Between them and the Steelers and Packers, man, it's a toss-up. You're going to have a home field advantage or not.
That's right.
Now the Chiefs seem to be another one that's in that group.
Uh-huh.
But
yeah.
It's going to be a nice little challenge. A.J. Brown next week, you're going to have bulletin board material. There's going to be a lot of conversation. I'm sure he's going to be amped up for this. I'm excited for the Titans to get another challenge, man. I think they go down the field and get a win.
I think they just might do it. We'll see. We look ahead to next week's opponent in the Look Ahead presented by Eurofix. Let me remind you that Eurofix repairs everything European that you drive and below dealer pricing. They have ASC certified technicians, a local company that has serviced Middle Tennessee for over 2 decades. Visit Eurofixonline.com. And next week, the Titans go back on the road to the city of brotherly love. It is the Titans against the Philadelphia Eagles, and that one is going to be a big one. Noon start.
Noon start on prime time. I say prime time. It's the game of the week for the early game for them, for Fox. And we'll see, man. I think it's a good challenge. And it's, again, against the elites in the NFC. See how you line up.
Titans radio coverage is produced by Philip Noel and Brad Willis. Studio producer is Joe Hunkapiller. Scoreboard producer Lucas Panzica. Promotions director is Rich Ferris. Director of Sales Hunter Rice. General manager is Allison Warren. Operations managers Charlie Cook and Paul Mason. The executive producer is Rhett Bryan. For Kevin Dyson and Brett Batchelor, I'm Will Boling. We'll see you next week on Titans Talkback.